So I guess this could be a continuation of my previous video, which was removed. My previous video, for those that didn't see it, it was just me reporting a failure on my attempt to measure out the alkaloids in the experiment between a flooding to see if it increases the alkaloid biosynthesis and a control. The reason it failed is because the starting material was too little amount. It was 8 grams for the control and 6 for the experiment after drying, which becomes difficult to measure with my milligram scale. But in any case, after continuing the extraction, following the silo procedure, I still had trouble salting, so I had to do a recrystallization using isopropanol. I froze it, it precipitated well. However, when I filtered and left it to dry on the filter paper, that's where I ran into issues again. The results, again, are inconclusive since I couldn't weigh it, but visually the volume of precipitate in the flooding experiment was greater than the control. But at the end, since the filter paper basically absorbed the precipitate and it dried within the actual paper, I couldn't weigh it. So overall, it was a fail. I know that I need to start with more dry material to begin with. So after doing a water wash of the filter and all of the precipitate I had collected, I reduced the water down completely and it became a goo again. So from there I added 2 milliliters of isopropanol, heated it, it all dissolved. You can see the precipitate forming instantly. I put it on a watch glass, and while it was drying, I would keep swirling it so that on the outer edges the precipitate would form similar to a film of white paint, and the white paint was allowed to dry completely, and I decanted off the very end result of the goo that remained. I just decanted it off, and the watch glass was allowed to dry completely, and I scraped it all off, and I got 100 milligrams. I got what did I get? No, I got 10. Yeah, I got 10 milligrams of precipitate, which is lower than I calculated originally. Yeah, I got 10 milligrams. So this is incorrect. This is supposed to be 1 milligram per milliliter. This is 10 milliliters of water, and I made a water drop at that concentration. It's 1 milligram. And this is a previous dropper that I made using mimosa root bark extract. It's with the heptane extract, and this is 30 milliliters and around 330 milligrams of the heptane freeze precipitate. So this is at a concentration of around 12 milligrams per milliliter, and a milliliter is this entire dropper, which I do not use close to that amount for my experiments. So now that I have these two extract measured out and weighed, I will proceed to do a few experiments where I want to see if there's any actual results from applying it to seedlings. I already did just a dry run of this mimosa heptane extract. I apply just enough to wet the surface in the apex, and from what I've read, it might increase growth rate. I haven't noticed that at a very large result yet, but I previously applied this 5 days in a row around 2 weeks ago, and I applied it to all of the astrophytum and Lophophora in this planter. This was, again, just a dry run. I have no idea what to expect, but I'll show you in a little bit. I already did see some issues applying this, at least to the Lophophora. It showed some negative effects. So for this heptane extract, it was a free base, so I had to I apply this to 30 milliliters of 5% vinegar, and so this is quite acidic, and that's probably what led to the burning of these Lophophora. The astrophytum don't seem to have any burning issues at the apex, and some of the Lophophora also do not show the same issue as others. But overall, they didn't die, they just burned the main apex. Some of them are already growing out of it. And the astrophytum, the main thing I've noticed is the spots of trichomes are darker than usual, since it's usually a very bright white. That's the only thing I've noticed so far. Growth rate isn't a massive difference. There may be a small increase, but I didn't do a control or anything. I just applied it just to see what would happen. After further research, I also noticed that if I apply this to the root system via hydroponic, it might have a greater effect because of the class of the alkaloid this is in. So again, this is now a correction 1 milligram per milliliter. Pretty sure that's what it is. I'll have to check my photo again, but in the future I'll be doing a new experiment with this. Since this one is reaching the 1 year mark, which I'll make a video soon on this, I'll be getting these Lophophora and trying to set up a control and the experiment applying. It would be sub 1 milligram since I don't apply the entire milliliter, but I would apply that to the apex and see if there's any noticeable difference between the controls and the experiment itself. And I also want to experiment more with the mimosa salts. I want to see if it will affect germination rate and other growth rate and other factors as time goes on. I have some seeds for my own plants now, some astrophytum, some others, and yeah, that's my next set of experiments. I won't refer to the actual molecules, I'll just refer them as the cactus alkaloid or cactus extract and mimosa alkaloid or mimosa extract to prevent any issues. It shouldn't deter anything. I didn't show making the water extracts solutions just to prevent any issues. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing going forward. This is just a very rough preview with the Lophophora as with a few other experiments, they tend to burn over the astrophytum, which don't seem to be as phased. So yeah, I ended up salvaging the failed experiment. I was able to get a somewhat correct weight so I could measure out and make this extract. So if anyone has any ideas, suggestions, I don't know if making a backup to my videos, as someone suggested, is the greatest idea, since I'm not someone with a huge following, but I may do that if it's not too much work. And thanks everyone for watching. Thanks 1Atom12 for the support. It means a lot. If anyone else is able to, any small donation goes a long way. Just a $2 coffee was awesome. If not, just like and subscribe. It helps a lot. It keeps me motivated to make these videos and to keep experimenting. And my following video, maybe in a week or two, I'm working on my first attempt to see if there's a correlation between the alkaloid content and the bricks measurement. My seedling that had the highest bricks measurement in the past at 4.8, today it measured at 5.2 when I made the cutting, and the semi-hydroponic Burgesi measured at 3 in the past. Today it measured very low at around 1.5. So we'll see if there's any correlation. I did not stress them, I just cut them, and we'll see how that goes. The starting weight should be enough so that I can measure each separately. It won't be the most exact, since it seems that I'm still in the deca milligram section and not in the hundreds, so we'll see how that goes.
And this should probably get its own video, but I don't think it's enough, since I won't be able to weigh this. This is an extract of caapi roots. Since I have the caapi in a semi-hydroponic setup, I was able to just trim some roots back. It started at 2 grams dry, and this is the alkaline precipitate. This is the second wash, and you can see there is a precipitate, and this is the first wash that I just decanted. And yeah, when this is acidic, under black light, it fluoresces a very light green. So the roots seem to be mainly harmine, and not so much harmine. But again, that's just a very visual and non-quantitative observation that I did. This may be interesting for people that are able to do a fully hydroponic setup where the roots will grow excessively. You can always trim back the roots, and you may actually have more biomaterial than trying to harvest the roots or the leaves and the stem. The concentration may be very low, but if you have that setup, or even a EBB setup where you let it flood and you drain it, the roots grow quite excessively. And when you do maintenance and trim back the roots to prevent clogging, if you save those roots, it should be viable for obtaining the harmine alkaloids. So this is my first attempt. It's 2 grams, so I wasn't really expecting anything. It was just mostly to see if it was active, and it is. You can see the precipitate, and yeah.